Hi, everybody. Good afternoon and happy Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Day. With me today, I'm Jen Wilson, by the way, with Convergence Coaching. And with me today is consultant Emily Brantz on our team. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Jen, how are you?
Good. Glad we're
Good.
together. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, our partner Tamara Lorzell had an other engagement today and was conflicted out. And so Emily agreed to come and be with us, which I really appreciate. And this is our HR Huddle where we talk about all things talent wise, anything affecting the human resources department or function, the people of our firms in the profession. And so that's what this discussion is today. And Emily and I are planning to first start with a discussion of really what Martin Luther King Day means to us. Maybe I think we certainly can't say what it means to anyone else, but what it means to us and what we think it ought to mean to firm leaders in the profession, or what we ought to be trying to think about and call ourselves to, perhaps. And then we're going to shift and talk a little bit about kind of an interesting social media meme and that's been going around and getting a lot of talk from HR leaders and our interpretations of that as well. So that's our game plan for today. So, I'll start just with MLK from my perspective. Super powerful leader, incredible orator. Somebody who transformed an entire way of thinking, maybe for an entire generation, made tremendous impacts. Brave, courageous, brilliant, probably pretty disappointed if he were standing here watching this stream right now with how far we've progressed since he left the earth, which is so disappointing. And something that we should all feel very called to try to shift in whatever way we possibly can. But just to acknowledge the greatness of his, forward vision and thinking and his intentions, and really how we haven't maybe made the most of it in our country as we should have, or maybe even on the globe. What do you think, Em?
Yeah. And also, one thing that I always think about when it comes to Martin Luther King is also his family and the support of his family. And, how it wasn't just him. He had brought other people in with him. And it kind of, to loop this back to a little bit about me and what I've been trying to share then with my daughter and my husband and I have both been sharing and she's only 2, is that it's never too young to teach them, to stand up and to speak out. And that was something I always grew up learning from some of his speeches that he gave. And so it's been fun to share different stories with her that I had learned and new ones as well, especially with Martin Luther King, day to day coming up. And so, I shared a video of my daughter reading and identifying Martin Luther King today in his honor, and shared it with one of my favorite quotes, which is intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. And that education in my life growing up was so important. And that doesn't just mean education of what's in the books or what's in school, but also applying it and having the characters to speak up and say things even when it's hard or difficult. You do what's right when no one's looking. And so that's one thing. He impacted my life, even though I wasn't alive when he was, when he was alive. So
Yeah.
it's a good day for everybody to remember and reflect on what we could learn from somebody who spoke up.
I love that, Em. And I had somebody speak up in my life last quarter in social media, and call me out for something. And it wasn't just me. I wasn't the only person singled out, but I took it seriously because I was named, if you will. So I heard it as calling me out, and it was because I was serving on an all-white committee. And that all white committee, just didn't. It was male and female, and different geographies and different disciplines, but it wasn't diverse. And it used to be, I could tell the whole story of it, but it didn't matter. This year, it wasn't diverse, and somebody had the courage to speak out in
Mm-hmm.
social media and say, hey, that isn't cool. Why are you on that committee? And at first I was sort of like, hey, I was privileged to be invited to the committee and I don't get to pick who's on it. I didn't take 100% responsibility. My first gut reaction was to be like, wow, why are you blaming me, kind of a thing. And then I stopped and I had several other people input and influence this thinking, hey, you saying yes to a committee without figuring out who's on it and making sure it's diverse is a way of like being, operating in white blind privilege or something, just operating in like, I can't affect this, which isn't valid. I can affect it by saying who's on this committee and is it diverse? And maybe I should say no to those that are not. And maybe that would make a difference in the thinking of the committee planners, or maybe not. Maybe I'd lose that opportunity, but at least I could hold my head up high knowing that I had taken a stand and that I was a stand for diversity. And so I just want to share that because, I'm not proud of it. Certainly, maybe, I get that I had to go through a journey myself of trying to figure out if I was even responsible, but I came down to I am 100% responsible, as we talk about in every HR huddle. I feel like you never get to have an HR huddle without that phrase. And in this case, I can make a difference. My participation in something that isn't diverse or isn't just is a form of assent or agreement with it. And I have to pay better attention to that. And I certainly have been since I got that very eye-opening lesson last year. So, Martin Luther King's quotes, there's a bunch of them. I love so many of them, but the one that I posted today that I think rings most true to me is our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about things that matter. The person who called me out wasn't silent about something that mattered. Emily and I are attempting here not to be silent about something that matters, to make sure that we're talking about it, make sure that we're paying attention to it as firm leaders. And in talent, you have the ability to affect this through, the furtherance of DE&I programs, making that strategic, making sure that diversity and inclusion and equity is all part of your firm's core values and cultural commitments, and is woven into the fabric of the firm.
Definitely. It starts with me, is what I always like to say. And also, I think the King Center has something similar like that for this year's thing. It starts with me. It starts with us making a step forward. So love that.
I do too. Well, so I also wanted to, this idea of speaking up and taking action, I wanted to shift us while we're together and talk a little bit about a social media meme that's going around. And it's been sort of funny and sort of sad. And I want to turn it into something that's empowering. So Emily's going to share it with you for a moment. And, it's got, and I'm sorry, I don't know Kate's McKinnon, I think. I don't know for sure what her last name is, but she's from Saturday Night Live. And she's on the left here, looking tidy and organized and fun, with her ugly sweater on or whatever. Maybe she thinks it's not an ugly sweater. So with her holiday sweater on and carrying files, very efficient looking, put together. And then, that was all talent managers and HR professionals up to and through 2019. Beginning in March of 2020 and beyond up till now is the image all talent managers and HR professionals look like that, or feel like that maybe. And it's our friend Mel Gibson. And I think that, that he's leading an army. That's how I'm perceiving it, that he's at the front of something. But some people have looked at it like, boy, my life was put together and I was awesomely organized and my life was good before. And now I am, coming out of the apocalypse or something. I'm a train wreck. And people have laughed about it. And, HR professionals have, felt sorry for themselves from it or something. And I am choosing to interpret it differently. I'm choosing to interpret it that before the pandemic, HR was administrative perhaps, or, a support in a support role, and maybe heard as somebody that got invited sometimes to partner meetings, maybe for an opinion or to talk about one program or something, and then excused. And that as the pandemic hit, and since then, talent has become the most important thing for every firm. We always wanted it to be, and for a lot of firms it was, but for all firms now, talent's at the center, and it's the one thing that's causing the most opportunity and the most challenge. And I like to look at the Mel Gibson image and think, now talent is leading. Now we're a warrior. We are a warrior on behalf of the organization, fighting for the right strategies, fighting for the right culture, fighting for the right positioning, the right way of thinking, the right behaviors. We're at the front. And we should be in every conversation that's happening.
Speaking up.
Yeah.
Yep. So, every convo, speaking up. I agree. Yep.
Yeah. Just, and leading. I mean, so, while the look isn't, maybe we should have had Wonder Woman or something if we were going to use female images. And I like that we use both male and female here, speaking of diversity. But it would have been maybe a Batman or something, a little bit more put together. Because I think that Mel looks slightly battle worn, but we're a little battle worn, but we know what our firms need to do, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that most of you know what we need to do. We've been talking about it certainly in every HR huddle, bits and pieces of strategy and key ideas, non-traditional staffing, continuous recruiting, DE&I, learning and development, stay interviews, getting that right compensation plan, and at market or above market compensation with bonuses and benefits, and really being competitive there. We have a whole list of things we know we need to do. And for some of you, you're all over it. And so maybe only one or two of the big ideas applies. For some of you, most of the big ideas apply and have to be done. Seems like we ought to grab the sword or whatever that is that we're leading with there, and really head into whatever sort of battle is required to call your firm forward. Those things. What do you think, Em?
Yeah, I see it as along the same lines, but I also see it as somebody who's leading the charge and speaking up and being strategic with how you're going to come to like what's most important, what we call our top thing, like 3 things. And so how are you going to do that? And it might be a little bit chaotic behind you is how I see Mel Gibson, a little chaotic behind you, but it's standing up, being that leader for your team and really bringing it home and driving it forward and saying, whoa, time out, leaders, is this part of our top 3 things? How can we weave in some of this stuff that is so important to our culture and our team, whether it's building more capacity or the DE&I or retention? It's leading that charge and speaking out, even though you might not have a huge support behind you. If you're familiar with Braveheart, it started with such a small, collective behind him, and it just grew. And that's where we have to bring it all together, is getting those leaders to see that this isn't just one small group that can benefit from this. It's the whole team, the whole culture of our firm that could benefit in leading that charge. So that's how I see it.
Well, and I could read so much more. I was sitting here just thinking about how, like, I could probably write an essay about this, right? Because I love what you just said about the chaos behind him. And you could say that's like blowing up old business models.
Yeah.
Like I'm leaving the past in the dust. I'm blowing up things that don't work anymore, but they're old norms. They're old things that we say, like, a warm body is better than nobody. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. A poor performer brings the team down, but we have all these old adages and old business model sayings and ways of thinking that don't work. They're not next gen. They're not going to take us forward. And so you could look at that as like, blowing up the past or something. And we don't
Yeah.
want to throw everything away,
No.
right? I'm not trying to say we're setting fire to everything, but a lot of things are changing, and should have changed already.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thought I had, again, furthering this essay on this graphic, is that in some respects, Kate on the put together HR person might not be that authentic. There might be this little bit of like, okay, whatever you say, I know that won't work, but I'm not going to make waves. A little bit faking it or something like,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is your firm, whatever you're doing, we'll we'll try to apply it. Or if you say no to this now, we'll agree and wait. Versus now, it's like, hey, wait a minute, get out of the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we have to do if we want to continue to have the talent to serve the clients.
Mm-hmm.
These are the changes we must make. An authenticity or a realness maybe has to come to these conversations that hasn't been there before, and an adamacy for the things you really believe have to change, whatever those are in your firm, and a fearlessness, maybe even a fierceness to your convictions about what needs to shift so that you can be successful, so the firm can be successful.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tie that back to that Martin Luther King quote. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. And we can't be silent in HR anymore about the stuff that doesn't work. And we can't tiptoe around politically trying to, not make waves when there's tsunami of waves like outside competitors and turnover and, morale and all of those important things that we really need to shift in our firms. So anyway, just Emily and I both thought that this graphic was awesome, and we loved it first for the humor. But then as we spent a little more time with it, it kept meaning more to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought we better bring that meaning to you and call you forward to be the leader, to be the advocate, the consultant, the truth talker, the front of this war to protect your firm's talent, to enhance your firm's culture, to expand and grow and be all that you can be as a firm, to be one of those destination firms that people want to migrate to instead of away from. So, Emily, any parting thoughts on this?
Nope. Just thanks for having me join you today, Jen. That was fun. And yeah, I hope people take a look at this, and we'd love to hear what you guys see out of this meme too, and what else it means to you. And also if you have any of your favorite MLK quotes, we always love to hear that as well. So
For sure.
that's all I had for me.
Thanks. Thanks everybody for being here with us today, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye now.